My dear brothers and sisters, I wish to welcome you to the 21st Sunday in Ordinary Time. Today, we are presented with the decision of those who listened to Jesus from the beginning of this discourse until this time. Eventually, they decided to walk away from Jesus. They decided not to follow or to accompany Jesus anymore. Today, it looks like the reality of choice stares at our faces. Choice, as we know, is a gift from God. The freedom to choose is a gift from God because free will is a function of our human reason. And God gave us this in order to be free to choose whatever we want. Let us remember that we are responsible for all the choices we make and the consequences also that emanate from our choices. We should be ready to bear them. We are the ones to choose either to remain in relationship with God or to abandon Him. But one thing I know is that those who choose to remain faithful and loyal to God, they experience happiness, joy, comfort, consolation, and peace of mind. Those who choose to abandon God, those who choose to walk away from God, they walk into misery, they walk into pains and sufferings. And let us remember that material things, cannot really satisfy us. So we may walk away from God, we may choose to align with material things, but that does not mean that we are happy. This morning I said to the church people, the congregation, that success is not about the quantity of what you possess. Rather, success is about the quality of fulfillment you derive even from the little that you have. Some people in the gospel today, as I said, chose not to follow Jesus anymore. They left because they felt scandalized. Because Jesus was talking about incarnation, God becoming, man. Something they don't want to believe. He talked about his ascension. Then he talked about the Eucharist. And he says, if you don't eat the body of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. We know that for ordinary people, they were thinking about cannibalism. They did not understand what Jesus really was talking about. But instead of calming down and understanding that Jesus is not asking them to become cannibals, they decided to walk away. Of course, for the Jewish people, blood was something you don't even talk about because blood is very sacred. And Jesus is saying, unless you drink the blood of the Son of Man, you have no life in you. Again, they did not understand, and they did not care to understand because their minds were already closed. There are many difficult things in the Bible that really, make us to feel shocked. And that's why Jesus says to us today, are you shocked? And the same question I ask you that is listening to me now, are you shocked by anything in the teachings of the church? In the Bible, are you shocked? Are you shocked that God says, I am present in the ordinary bread, the little bread baked by the Reverend Sisters? God says, I am present in it after the consecration. Do you believe that? Or is that difficult for you to accept? In the second reading today, St. Paul speaks about the relationship between husbands and wife. In our day today that everyone claims autonomy, everyone wants to be free, everyone wants to be independent, it's difficult to find a woman who is still subordinate to the husband. It's difficult to find a husband who still loves, truly the wife. Because it's easy for us to talk about women becoming subordinate to their husband, but we forget that there is a reciprocity. That as we talk about women becoming subordinate, we also talk about men loving their wives just as Jesus loved his bride, the church. There are many other things, like in 1968 when St. Paul VI published the encyclical, the Humanae Vitae, condemning all kinds of immorality. Many people were not comfortable with that you should not live with a man who is not your husband, who is not married to you. You should not live with a woman who is not married to you as your wife. It's wrong. Cohabitation is wrong. Contraceptives, wrong. Euthanasia, wrong. Homosexuality, wrong. All these things are still the things that we are battling with today. People have chosen to become those created as biological men, decided to choose to become like women. Those created biologically women decided to choose to become like men. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainties, and that's why in the opening prayer of this Sunday, the church prays that even amidst all the uncertainties of this life, that we may always fix our gaze, that we may always remain loyal to Jesus. There are many things in the Bible that may shock us. There are many things in the Bible that seem so difficult to do. And most times we just walk away from them. We refuse to keep them. For instance, when Jesus said, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that is difficult. It's difficult to forgive and let go. But let me tell this, that we have the power to choose to love. We have also the power to choose to hate. But every choice we make has its own consequences. We may choose to remain loyal to God. That is the source of happiness. We choose to remain in relationship with God. That's the source of happiness. If we choose to walk away from God, that's a choice also for misery, a choice for sadness, a choice for sorrows. The best decision we can make, dear brothers and sisters, is to turn to God. In times of uncertainties, in times of confusion, in times that we are filled with all kinds of difficulties, the best thing to do is to turn to God. The mistake of the people in the gospel today is that when they got confused, they turned away from God. And this is one thing we learn from Joshua, because Joshua says to us today in the first reading, choose for yourselves the God you will serve. I and my family, we have chosen to serve the living God. Sometimes we choose to do evil. Sometimes we choose immorality because we forget so fast the blessings and the favors that we have received from God. Joshua and his family never forgot that. They remembered, and the people also remembered, because they said, no, we have to follow God because He's the one who gave us deliverance. He gave us liberation. He gave us freedom from the land of captivity. We will follow the Lord. In the gospel, when people walked away from Jesus, Simon Peter and some of the apostles said, we will remain with you because you have the words of eternal life. If we walk away from Jesus, I say it again, we walk into misery. The Eucharist is a gift that Jesus has given to us, a gift of His presence, a presence that satisfies us, a presence that gives us fulfillment, a presence that gives us peace, comfort, consolation, joy. It is left for you and for me to choose either to accept this or not to accept it. But for those who accept, they receive eternal life. I will tell God about you.